Some suggest the perpetual friction of our hurried existence has propagated a blind procession through life. 3 years ago, a respected publication placed a world-renowned violinist in a subway station during morning rush hour, a modest stage for a master hailed for the elevation of his craft. Back and forth his bow would glide on a priceless Stradivarius. For 43 minutes, he played some of the most celebrated compositions ever written. Over 1,000 people passed by. Only 6 stopped to listen. Beauty, camouflaged in a forest of repetitive monotony. Amazement, rebuffed by the rigmarole of counterfeit urgency. Tonight, this passion disintegrates. The thumping beat of rhythmic motion echoes not through the dim corridors of a subterranean depot, rather to the rafters of the most colossal home ever to welcome the wonders of the game. This is no mere stage. This is theater in the round.
Oh, you have to be kidding me! We are not worthy!
Here, basketball's world-renowned performers stand in lead.
Pass picked up by Miller, drives, dunks, oh my!
They represent entire cities while carrying signature styles. Howard, LeBron, Wade, men sent expressly to awaken the dozers and shake the foundations of this athletic cathedral. On hand, an astronomical assemblage empowered by the association to act as impresarios, customizing the marquee for its grandest spectacle. For 48 minutes, these stars will compete amongst and against equally celebrated contemporaries to manifest a vision of alluring artistry. Tonight, the procession will stand at attention. This is the NBA All-Star Game on TNT.
Welcome back, Cowboy Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Since February 4th, the stadium crew here has done a splendid job in transforming the football field to the NBA All-Star floor. You're looking at a time lapse of the last 9 days. The court here tonight has been placed right around the 50-yard line and is actually raised on a 30-inch platform. So team benches, courtside fans, and our location actually about 2.5 feet below the court. The end result, well, it's the 2010 All-Star Game presented by Kia Motors. As we take a look at the Taco Bell starting lineups for the Eastern squad. On the front line, it's LeBron James of the Cavaliers having a sensational season. Kevin Garnett of the Boston Celtics. Dwight Howard of the Orlando Magic in his 4th All-Star game. Backcourt of Dwayne Wade of the Miami Heat and Joe Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks starting for Allen Iverson. The West winners of last season's All-Star game in a wild one. They shot 61% from the field. Up front, Tim Duncan of the San Antonio Spurs, Carmelo Anthony, Denver Nuggets, Amari Stoudemire of the Phoenix Suns. At the guards, the one-time Maverick Steve Nash, now the Phoenix Suns, and Dallas's own Dirk Nowitzki will start in the backcourt in the absence of the injured Kobe Bryant. So George Karl has a 7-footer at the shooting guard position. The 59th NBA All-Star Game, which dates back to 1959. The old Boston Garden went for the East. Easy Ed Macaulay of the Boston Celtics, the MVP. Joe Lapchick of the Knicks, the winning coach. The East has won 35 All-Star games. The West has won 23, including last season, the one in Phoenix by a wild score of 146-119 as Kobe Bryant led the way with 27 and was named the co-All-Star MVP with a fellow by the name of Shaquille O'Neal, who is sitting, as they say, in civvies to our right.
Well, Marv, you know what? 9 first-time All-Stars. You talked about that in our open. I'd like to have a heart monitor on those guys right now, just feeling the excitement. Reggie, you had your first time as an All-Star, so did I, and I can't imagine it being in a place like this.
Well, it's funny because we had a chance to speak with both coaches, and they went to their respective squads and asked them who really didn't want to play and play limited minutes. And, you know, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett won't play a lot. I'm wondering, once they ran out here and saw close to 100,000 people here, and the fans' reaction, maybe they're rethinking that choice. They're trying to play a little bit more minutes in front of this fabulous crowd.
I think both you guys can relate to your very first All-Star experience. Obviously, you did not play before 100,000 people, but Reggie, you were, what, 3-4 years out of UCLA, a game taking place in Miami. What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, take it a step further. The year before, they had it in the Astrodome, and I remember going to that All-Star game because I was in the three-point competition, sitting at the very top, the 500 seats, looking down, saying, one of these days I'm going to play in that game. The next year I got selected to play in Miami, and then walking into the locker room with the likes of Charles Barkley, Kevin McHale, the great Michael Jordan. It was unbelievable.
Doug, what was your first All-Star appearance?
It was 1976, and it was in Philadelphia. It was a bicentennial game, so I got to play in front of the home crowd, which made it extra special.
And Doug, you coached the All-Star game in Cleveland, and that was the game where the 50 greatest players were being honored, and you had Michael Jordan on your squad. You had Glenn Rice on his way to a scoring record, chasing Wilt Chamberlain, and you had, as I recall, Michael Jordan over at the scorer's table ready to report in, and you said, come on back.
Well, I just walked down and said, go come back and sit back down on the bench here. You know, you're not coming out of the game, right? But actually, I did get ready to put him in the game, and I sort of sheepishly went out and said, Michael, can Glenn Rice stay in the game here? He's about ready to set a record. He said, no problem. He went on to score. We put Michael in the game, won the game, and Michael was very happy because he got the winner's share of the money, which he always wanted to leave town with.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
And right here, we'll check in with our public address announcer, Mark Followill.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Welcome. Welcome to Dallas, everybody. Thanks for coming out and making this a special day. Enjoy the show. And I want to say everything is bigger in Texas. Thank you, guys.
Dirk Nowitzki has been kind of appointed as the host for the weekend, as Steve Nash, a good friend of Dirk from their days together in Dallas, has mentioned. He's not exactly the guy who wants to be hosting, but it has been forced upon him. So a crowd of 90,000 plus would be the largest to watch a basketball game. The owner of the Mavericks, Mark Cuban, I know, is aiming for 100,000, as is Dallas Cowboy owner Jerry Jones. The record for a basketball game crowd, 78,000 plus. It was Michigan State against Kentucky at Ford Field in Detroit back in 2003. As far as NBA regular season, 62,046. A Bulls-Hawks game at the Georgia Dome in 1998. And the record for an All-Star game, 44,735. That's the one you mentioned, Reggie, at the Houston Astrodome in 1989.
Marv, I got a question here for Reggie. Now, he was in the three-point shooting competition, and they had him sitting at the top of the stadium. I mean, what in the world?
I finished last.
Okay, I was just wondering, how did you get up there?
I finished last, or second to last, one of the two. It wasn't a great weekend for me.
Well, LeBron James going through the ritual.
Could be a couple guys going through the ritual with the rosin powder. You also got Kevin Garnett, who does the same thing.
The officials all working their very first All-Star game. Scott Foster in his 16th NBA season. James Capers in his 15th. And Derek Richardson in his 13th.
Coach, I have to say this, just looking at the two squads, the starting squads as they're headed for the jump ball. I like the look in the eyes of the East team. LeBron James and Kevin Garnett. Carmelo Anthony is saluting my good friend over here, Doug Collins. I like the look of the East. Looks like they're all business.
Well, when you have LeBron James on your team, there's a good chance that's going to happen. If I'm the West, I start out in a 2-3 zone right now with the team. They've got to make them shoot some jump shots and see what kind of accuracy they're going to have today in this vast place to try to shoot, Reggie. You know, that's one of the difficult things, shooting without a background.